Hey, what is happening? You made it. I made it. We're here again together on the live stream of consciousness. My place to connect to you, to connect to my guests, to connect the collective consciousness, to raise the vibration, to be in the moment. Um, that's what this is. That's what the live stream of consciousness is. And it's been awesome. I see that you guys have already started the party without me. What's up, Jilly? What's up, Lily? What's up, Tim? I see you guys all chatting with each other already. That's cool. Setting up the vibe, setting up a good vibe. Today is going to be a good conversation. As you guys know, the show has been kind of going in this new direction where it's not just specifically people who are involved with spirituality on a professional level, like psychic mediums and Akashic records readers and all the cool people that we've had. But I've been having musicians and comedians, and I had a theologist, somebody who studied religion, and I was like, you know what, I want to have a conversation not about spirituality versus religion, but the common ground between spirituality and religion. And that was awesome. Michael Wellhouse, he was an amazing guest. That was an awesome conversation. That was just so much connection. But today's guest, I'm gonna imagine is similar in a way. I don't think he's very religious, so to speak, but he did grow up in a religious home, as far as I know. I haven't spoken to him much. It's an interesting story. You guys all know Mind Dog TV. I have talked about Mind Dog TV before. He's kind of sponsored an episode or two. Here he is right here, Mind Dog TV. He's a good friend of mine, great podcaster who has a great podcast, Coffee with the Dog, and then another show at night. I forget what that's called. It's just Mind Dog TV. But Matt Napo. And I also realized that when I put this graphic up, I could do a skit. I could be like, hey, I'm Matt Napo. What are you doing? Hey, what's happening? But I'd have to cut out the black. But I think I'm going to talk to Matt about doing some skits like that. But anyway, here we are. Excited to talk to my guest. He actually got in touch with me from the Mind Dog show and said, hey, I want to be on your show. I think just the vibe appealed to him. And I got to say, it was interesting because I didn't really know much about him. But I did enjoy listening to him when he was on Matt's show. And then when we started talking and I started kind of paying attention more to what he was saying, I realized how much common ground we had. And it was funny. He was on Matt's show the other day, and Matt is kind of cynical a lot of times. And it was talking about spirituality. He was talking about me. And William Conway, who's the guest I'm going to bring on, was actually kind of not defending me specifically, but he was totally coming from the same place. So I got really excited about tonight's conversation. So I am going to welcome to the show. I think I've billed him as an entertainer and a former inmate, Mr. William Conway. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
What is happening, my friend?
Just chilling at home, as you see.
Home sweet home. Cool.
Yeah.
So I was just telling the audience that we met on another friend's show, the Mind Dog TV show. And
yeah, I love Matt. He's great.
Matt is awesome. What's up, Tim? Tim says, so much, Michael. The phrase "what's up" is a bit shorter in Portuguese. It's just "ei." So that's cool. I'm gonna try to pronounce that. You're gonna have to teach me how to pronounce that, Tim. But yeah, Matt is awesome. I admire Matt because we're both on this platform. We both love to have conversations with people and just like connect. Like I was saying, Matt's a little bit more cynical than me, but I love it. I love his edge. I love the way he's truly interested in the people that he's talking to. I find the authenticity comes right through, and I find that's like it makes his show really special. And so we've talked about that before, him and I. But I was excited. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I can be cynical at times. I'm more sarcastic. I'm very sarcastic. And that's my cynical side is my sarcasm because Like I'm rich with sarcasm most of the time.
Right.
Like if you ask me for something that I'm obviously gonna say yes to, I'm just gonna shout no in your face, and
Right. Right.
while I hand it to you, you know what
Right.
I mean? Like I don't know why I do that, but that's something I like. That's a part of my daily life. Like
But cynicism is different than sarcasm, I think, because
right,
you could be sarcastic, you could be funny, and you could be loving with sarcasm. Also,
right,
still, you know what I mean. But
right.
before we get into a conversation, because I knew we would get right into a conversation, I've got to initiate you with the live stream of consciousness ritual, which is basically just the question, and you can answer it as long or as short as it takes to explain your feelings on it. But what is consciousness, William? What is consciousness?
I mean, awareness, I would say.
Okay.
And I mean, that's why there's different levels of consciousness because there's definitely different levels of awareness. You know what I mean? I guess in the shortest answer possible, I would say awareness.
That's great. No, that's a perfect answer. I love that answer, and I think that's it. Also is, it's a very widespread answer because you could just say the word and be right, and then there's so many different things you can apply it to.
Right. Yeah. You can go a lot of different directions after that. That's for sure.
Totally, totally. And it's interesting because I think we're going to probably refer to Matt quite a bit in this conversation because that's a little bit of our common ground. But that's kind of the thing I love about Matt is like he is a lot more spiritual than he lets off. He's a lot more loving than he lets off.
Oh
But
yeah, he's got a big heart. He's got a huge
yeah,
heart.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he also does, I think, genuinely choose some of those choices that he makes to get angry at certain things. Like he's
Sure.
not he's legitimately angry, but it's like a choice. And the thing that you
Right.
were saying on the show that I felt was like defending me a bit was like, hey man, it's not like you think everything is all positive and you only see positive stuff, but you choose to resonate with that positive stuff. You choose to
Right.
hold on to that positive stuff and look for that positive stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where the choice is, and that's really where the benefit of even knowing that is, right? He's always like, well, what's good is it to try to figure out what the meaning of life is? And I'm like, well, if you know that what you give is what you get, then you could decide to give good and get good back,
Right.
right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyway, enough about Matt. Let's get on to the next question, which is really a little bit more about spirituality. And I believe you have an answer to this. You did start telling me that you were brought up in an Episcopalian family. No,
Catholic, actually.
Catholic. Oh, okay. I thought it was. I thought you were telling me. I might
No.
be messing it up. A lot of people are telling me different things these days.
Right.
But
Yeah.
okay,
No.
so
I grew up Catholic.
okay, so but that's not where you're at now. You're in a different place spiritually, I feel
No.
like.
I mean, where I'm currently at spiritually is sort of an unidentifiable place. It's not necessarily limbo because I definitely have some solid beliefs, but the thing is that I've had a vast experience in my life, and a lot of it spiritual, from growing up Catholic to getting saved as a teenager. And I mean, I went to Catholic youth conferences when I was like 14. It was in Steubenville, Ohio, at the Franciscan University there. And I remember when the priest they had a really big golden chalice that they had a Eucharist in, and
Mhm.
the priest took this thing around a tent of like 3,000 people. Okay.
Yeah.
And like as this priest passed by row, people started getting tears of the spirit, resting of the spirit. People would just burst into laughter. People started speaking in tongues. People started interpreting, like the whole shebang. Like I didn't even realize that there was a charismatic side of Catholicism until I got involved with the youth group that took me to this event. Like, I thought that Catholicism stayed far away from this sort of thing, but
Right.
I mean, I was in this tent full of people and like neck deep in like the spirit moving sort of deal.
Wow.
And I mean, uh I've seen miracles myself. I've experienced physical healing after someone prayed over my feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and this is what I'll say about that, okay? Even the Bible acknowledges that there are many gods. The Bible just says that I'm the God above all those other gods.
Mhm.
Like God doesn't say that these other gods don't exist or that they don't have power. He
Mhm.
just says mine is the highest. You know,
Mhm.
like that's the thing that a lot of people never really take a moment to like stop and understand when he says, "You shall have no other gods before me." That is God recognizing that there are indeed other gods and they do have power. They have as much power as you put the faith into them. You know what I mean? And
Right.
the same with Christianity. Christianity has as much power to be effective in your life as your faith gives it value to.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
and no matter what your belief is,
Well, I think that's
your beliefs are as powerful as you believe they can be.
absolutely no, absolutely, and I think that's that's kind of how I'm going to interpret what you're saying because I'm not super familiar with the Bible. I know the Bible, you know, some of the general stuff, but I think the other gods that are you're referring to there are just other people's interpretations and ways to get to that to get to that
Right,
belief of source, right? Because
right.
God is source. God is the ultimate. Like
Right, because
exactly
right,
what you're saying,
like essentially, God is like all of it. Essentially, in my opinion, I think God is like the connection to everything that goes on, not
right?
in a deterministic way, but in an we're all connected way.
Right,
You
right.
know,
That and
and
that
which is why you should be good to each other, and
right,
why
that's
when you shit
exactly
on people, even in secret, it comes back on you. You know what I mean?
right.
Because like, listen, the universe knows, buddy. But you know,
Yeah,
like it totally knows.
yeah,
Like,
for sure. For sure. I just want to acknowledge a bunch of people said hello when we got in here. Tim Lorenz, hola, he's in Brazil. He said hola.
hola,
Lily says welcome, Will. Jilly says welcome. And then
hello.
Brian, the wizard of odd, is here and he says he could not agree more with what you're saying.
Well,
So
thanks.
what we talk about here on the live stream of consciousness is I don't really use the word God often, and I don't mind using the word God, but we talk about energy being everything, right? So
Right.
God, I mean, I'm imagining you I don't want to say you see God as energy, but your understanding of God is not a person, right? It's the energy that rules all. It's almost like Star Wars, right? The Force.
I mean, kind of, yeah, for
You
sure.
know, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what we talk about. So I guess the second question that I always ask, because we're already into the whole thing, but the second question is usually like, was there a moment that you kind of realized there was something beyond yourself, a higher power that was something that you had to kind of just have faith in and believe in, and not necessarily say, oh, I can understand this, but just say, I know it's there.
Right. I mean, dude, I've had so many like aha God moments in my life, you
Mhm.
know, and even like so living a life without any sort of faith in anything, whatever it is, living a life without faith is really sort of a destitute life. You know what I mean? Like when one lives without any kind of faith in anything, even if it's just humanity as a whole. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like and that's why 12-step programs are so huge on you have to have a higher power, even if it's the doorknob. Like, you know what I mean? Which is a really stupid euphemism that they use,
Right.
you
Right.
know, because the doorknob can fall apart or whatever. But like, you know, a lot of people use the spirit of the program, the spirit of the 12-step program as
Mhm.
their higher power when they really don't have a name or anything else that they want to connect to because the love and the spirit and of the program, that's always there. That's always present when you go to meetings or when you go to fellowship or
Right,
even
right,
a convention or whatever. So like that's a higher power that sometimes people will use. But like I think it's I think it's so important to have faith, because in the times where I just gave up on God completely. I was, everything I did in life was for myself or
mhm,
whatever, you know, um, I was not good to people.
right,
I didn't take good care of myself. You know what I mean? And
right,
I just continue to go down the spiral, and even if it may be the slowest of descents, but I'm moving backwards when I'm not living some sort of life of faith. I have to believe in something, or I'm just a wayward soul that's
right,
wandering, and
right,
that
right.
sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I could totally understand that. I mean, and I think that's, when I always had a problem with organized religion, but the problem that I had with organized religion was the aspect of it that had become corrupt. You know what I mean? The
Right.
aspect of it that had become used for control and was basically corrupt. What's up, Jay? Good to see you, man. My buddy Jay is here. Uh, yeah, so I absolutely feel like faith is super important, just you know like you said, because otherwise if you're wayward, what are you living for? You know what I mean? um
Right.
Jay always says, every day you wake up is another opportunity, right? And
Yeah.
the thing I connected with you, the vibe that I connected was, just the whole idea of being a good person, right? Not because you're supposed to, but because you understand the energy, you understand what it feels like, right?
Right.
To be that way. You understand the effect it has on other people when you're a good person and you affect other people and they come back to you and you say, yo man, you inspired me, or you did this or you did that. That reflection, back, it makes you feel connected, right, to the collective.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think that, what you were saying earlier about, the support, and that was also, I was going to say, that made me think about the collective. When you're in a program, a 12-step program, everybody's there with that same intention, right?
Right.
They're there with that intention, and the power of that becomes a collective energy, and
Right.
that's kind of what I was talking about. But awesome. Okay, sweet. So, all right. So let's get into you, who you are, and what
Oh
you
man.
do, and your story. As he lights up a cigarette, you are an entertainer. I was introduced to you. The medium that I was introduced to you was stand up comedy.
Yes.
Matt has a lot of comedians on his show, and we were talking the other day about the whole, what is it called, not the whack pack, right? The whack pack vibe of like all the characters that hang around his show, you and Dean and like all of these
Yeah.
characters. Because I was telling him, I'm like Dean always sounds like he's drunk. Like, I'm like, is Dean
He does kind of. Yeah.
drunk all
He
the time?
does.
So
Yeah.
so so we were just talking about that. But so that's what I know you about. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? You are in New Mexico?
I do live in New Mexico currently. I live in Grants, New Mexico, which is about an hour west of Albuquerque
Okay.
on I-40.
Beautiful state,
I'm
New Mexico.
It's they call it the land of enchantment for a reason. It is absolutely beautiful here,
Yeah.
which has been definitely a benefit to me because it's been sort of a rough time during the period that I've been here. I've dealt with, obviously, COVID has happened since I moved here because I moved here like pretty much right before COVID hit. I moved here like right after I competed in the dope comedy competition that was March 1st of 2020. And
And what was that? What is that? The dope comedy competition?
so that was this thing that I did in Texas. That I mean, it turned out to not amount to anything because COVID happened, but it
Oh,
was supposed to be like the winner of it was supposed to get a trip to LA and like a bunch of promo stuff or whatever. And like they did put me in like their online magazine and stuff like that, and they made some logos for me. But like but everything was shut down. Also,
Right,
in
right, right,
fairness,
right.
you know, um, but um, but yeah, that was in Dallas, Texas. It was really cool. Like I got into that just by accident. Really, it was really weird. I did one show at Hyenas in Plano, Texas. I did an open mic. I think it was on a Friday night, and it was like 1:30 in the morning by the time I got up there. I was actually super upset about it because I was hoping that my first set in Texas would be a little more exciting than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was like six people there, and I'm pretty sure that like two of them worked there, and two of them were comics that were on after me. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I've had those kind of gigs.
but
Yeah.
then like the next day I get this messenger message from somebody from the night before, and they're like, hey, there's this dope comedy competition going on, you should check it out. And so I look it up and I message the people, I get involved in the contest, and I won the crowd vote at every level of the competition. Every time I performed, I won the crowd vote, which in the semifinals is actually the reason I went to the finals, because
Awesome.
the judges sent through the other guy, and but because I won the crowd vote, they decided to have a wild card, and we did four people in the finals instead of three. So I actually luckily got into the finals, and only because of the crowd vote.
Right.
And then I won the competition unanimously at the finals.
Oh, wow.
And it
Nice.
was like
Nice.
I was on cloud nine, dude. I was on top of the world. I thought this was it. And then
And that was
2
your
weeks
first
later,
competition? That was like your
two
first competition?
yeah, it was like I mean my first major competitions. Like I had done some competitions back when I first started back in like 2002, back in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I had
Okay.
done
Oh,
some
wow.
local stuff at the comedy club there, but it was my first like bigger competition.
Right.
Um, but like I said, it turned out to not be so big.
Right, right,
Which,
right.
and I mean that's uh the thing that I take away from it is that like that was a big deal. You know what I mean? Like for me to go to Texas and win the crowd vote every time, this is
Sure.
a crowd that doesn't know me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's great.
So like it was a big deal for that. Um because it's easy to win the crowd vote when you bring 20, 30 people. But when nobody in the crowd knows who you are and you can still win the crowd vote,
Yeah.
well, you're probably good at what you do,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's how it
you know?
sounds like it. Yeah, for sure. So, so you've been doing comedy for a while. So, is that what your full time gig, or is that just like a side gig?
Okay, so no, this is the way I explain my comedy career or my comedy at this point. It is less than a career and more than a hobby. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Like
fair. That's
like
fair.
I would sure love it to be my career. Or at least part of my career, because the whole reason I put entertainer or ask is because I have a song out with Matt Napo, you know that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
That's
think
right. I forgot. I forgot. I should have
and
downloaded it.
I just got on with the label Heathen House Entertainment, and I'm working with some music producers, and we're gonna have my first single is probably gonna be Fall Away, and it's gonna be released under the name Will See, which is just my but I like we'll see, because like it's like, is this gonna be any good? Well, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like
That's funny. That's great. I love play on words. We'll see. We'll see. Is
yeah, I'm always like that.
That's awesome. So I just went into I just went to see if I could find that video real quick. Uh, but normally I would download it. I wouldn't play it through. What's the name of the song? I just put Matt Napoli and William
Oh,
Conway.
it's called Lay Down Your Guns.
Lay down your guns, right? Yeah, that's great. Um, cool. So let's get back. Let's kind of steer this conversation back into the realm of beliefs. Because I also
Yeah, I'm
heard
so sorry.
that's no problem at all. This is kind of space for you to talk about you, but I do like to talk about you know, the beliefs of existence, and just to kind of figure out ways to be happy, because I think
Yeah.
that's one of the connections I also have with you, like not knowing you and just kind of trying to get a vibe. I think I remember like when I first saw you, I was like, oh, you know, he kind of had, to me, I had this like judgment, and it wasn't like bad or anything like that, but it was like, oh, you know, he's like a truck driver type of dude. He's like, you know, I don't smoke cigarettes, that kind of thing, you know, not like
Right. Yeah.
I'm clean cut and I don't drink or, you know, whatever. But you know, I was just like, oh, whatever. Like I had this judgment in my mind, and I am not a very judgmental person, but you know, I was just like, oh, whatever. But again, as I started to see you talk a little bit, and after you said I want to be on your show, I was like, okay, well, what's he all about? You know, it was that philosophy that I said, oh, I totally connect with this guy. You know, the philosophy of just being your authentic self, but also being good, you know, being good to other people, and looking for the good in other people. So I guess what I could say, this is something I was thinking about before the show. um I used to feel very strongly in my head that 95% of the people that I met every day on a daily basis, 95% of those people had no fucking clue what it meant to be a human being on a planet with other human beings. They just had no clue. They were living in their own blinder world, and I hated it. I hated every one of those 95%. I was just like, oh, I was miserable about it. And that's what I got. That's what I got. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
that's what I believed. And when I stopped looking for that, I stopped finding it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I
Right.
wasn't. I started to look for the good in people. I started to have more compassion for people and say, you know what? These people have been beat down by layers and layers of a system that just is oppresses them, tells them they've got to be thin and beautiful and wealthy and all of these things that they're trying to be, that they're not, and they think they have to be. So it, like, you know, it makes everybody miserable. And
Well,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, once I unsubscribed from that belief, and I started seeing the reflection of myself in different people, and the good things, and like how they were like me, and that just made me feel so much better. You know what I mean? It made me so much happier to to tell someone, you know, hey man, thanks, you have a great day. You know, that's one of the stories I tell. Like every day people are like, hey, how you doing? And the answer you hear most is, you know, I'm doing all right, hanging in there, you know,
But
right?
you can't always be honest either, because even I had it happen to me with a pastor's wife. This is a true story. When I was in prison, I was working in the library, and the pastor and his wife had their office in the same building, and they
Mhm.
would often come up to the library. And one day, the pastor's wife asked me how I was doing, and on that particular day, it was pretty tough. And
Right.
so I just started, "Duh, duh, 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 duh," and she was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I have to go. I can't talk right." And I'm like, "Why'd you ask then?" You know what I'm like? It was like, oh, I
Uh,
was just like, I was dumbfounded. I was just like, how could you?
that's it.
Like,
That's
like,
hysterical. No, but and it's true. Like a lot of times when you hear that question, people don't want to really hear the answer. But the point I was making was like, I remember noticing, I asked somebody that, and their response was, I'm doing awesome. They were just so happy. So whatever it was in their day or their moment, they were just like,
right,
I'm awesome. And that was the moment I realized about that energy exchange. Like that was an
yeah,
energy exchange. I was asking them how they're doing. They were giving me this great response, and I was feeling great because of it. And so I started intentionally answering that way. When people would be, how you
right,
doing, I would say, I'm awesome. And like you said, you can't always feel that way. So when I didn't feel that way, and I would find myself starting to answer the other way, like, oh man, you know, fucking crashed my car this morning or whatever,
right,
I would stop myself and I would find something good to say. And just noticing that I was controlling that energy exchange, and not controlling it, but being intentional with it,
yes.
it changed my life. It changed
And
my whole life.
I also want to say this. because I'm sure that sometimes your positivity was met with crassness, right? Like you were positive towards somebody and they
Every
were
time I
real
go on
bah
Matt's
humbug
show,
about
yeah, every
it.
time I
Right.
go
Right. Right. Um let me tell you something. Don't ever let that crassness of people deter you,
no, I
because
don't.
the thing about energy is you sending out the positive is all that needs to happen. Whether or not they receive that doesn't really matter, because you put positive out into the universe.
That's right.
So that means it's going to come back. You know what I mean? Like whether or not it's received through this, medium or whatever doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's still, because it's all connected.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Exactly.
Like, and because it's easy to be discouraged by you feel like, "Ah, I shouldn't even say anything then," because a lot of people get gripey or whatever, you
Right,
know.
right, right. Totally.
But
Yeah, and you know what?
um
And it's okay to be that way. That's the thing too. It's like, Matt's always like, oh, Mike has a big skin. I keep talking about Matt. He's like, he thinks I have a thin skin because I like to be nice. But I could, if someone doesn't want to be nice, cool, man. I'm cool with that.
right,
It's not, it doesn't feel bad to me for you to not be nice. It feels bad to you. You know what I mean?
right,
It's like, I'll just be like, cool, I'm on my way,
yeah. And
So,
I mean, it's very disarming. You know what I mean? And like, and it's definitely going to help get other people on your side in, potentially, bad situations or whatever, because people are usually going to side with the guy who's at least being nice and reasonable or whatever. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, that, and I just generally, I'm really trying not to put negative out there anymore, because I want to go back, circle back a little bit and give maybe a more fair response.
Sure.
The biggest turning point in my life was when I went to prison, and especially when I was in A&O and I was getting processed. Okay, they do a bunch of like testing or whatever, classification type stuff. One of the things they do is they figure out your recidivism rate. Like what is your personal likelihood of going back to prison after your release.
Okay.
And um now I'll say this, like I grew up fairly religious, and up until I was about 13 or so, most of the people that knew me thought I was going to be a priest someday.
Well,
And then I really went off the rails, and I ran away from home, and I got into drugs, and I got into violence. I got into all sorts of stuff. And by the time I went to prison in 2007, I had actually spent the last 6 years or so calming down, which is crazy to say, because I was going to
as,
prison for
as you
armed
were
robbery.
calming down, you went to prison.
For armed robbery, yeah, and that and but
Matt Napples you.
like the judge, I'll never forget. I'll go back to the day I got sentenced, even because his words ring in my ears forever. Judge Joseph Nealis looked at me and he said, "What I see with you is very concerning." He said, "With you, I see the evolution of crime, which means that you go long periods of time without being arrested. But every time you're arrested for something worse than the time before, which leads me to believe not that you go long periods of time without committing crimes, but that you commit crimes all the time and we don't catch you. So I'm going to give you a sentence that help you understand that this is not how you want to live your life."
Right, right,
And he
right.
gave me 15 years.
Wow.
And when, by the way, my lawyer had made me believe that I was going to get 15 years with 10 suspended, and I was only going to have to sit a portion of 5 years. Like the way my lawyer made it sound, I was going to do 3 years and 3 months and be out.
Okay.
And the judge didn't give me any suspended time. He gave me it straight up, and which meant I had to serve 9 years and 9 months. And And when I was in the processing for A&O and they gave me my recidivism rate, they said that I was 95% to reoffend.
Wow.
That I had a 95% chance of, once I was released from prison, I
And you
was
don't
going
know
to go back.
what it is they use to determine that.
I
You just
mean,
answer the question.
they use a lot of things. They use, like I had substance abuse history. I've had a criminal record since I was a minor. You know what I mean? Like my level of, my this crime was violent, you know, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but yeah, that's how they determined it, and they called it 95% for me.
That's
And I
great.
remember, like, the world cracked, bro. You know what I mean? Like when they said that to me, like it was, but like, understand that, like, up to that point in my life, like, I was a bad dude. Like, as much as I had done my as much as I had worked on myself and tried to be a better person, I was still a really shitty person. You know what I mean?
I mean, we didn't even talk about any of that. Like what
Yeah,
led
no,
you up to
like I
armed robbery?
yeah, no, my upbringing was so ridiculously wrong, on so many different levels. You know what I mean? And and like, by the time I got to prison, I had spent a lot of time blaming other people. You know what I mean? Because from a very young age, I was dealing with some very traumatizing, tumultuous shit. And
Right.
I just didn't deal with it well. I responded poorly. I went to drugs and alcohol and violence, but when I went to prison and the doors locked behind me, like, there was just this overwhelming feeling that I had. You know what? If everybody else is the problem, why am I the one that's sitting here?
Right.
If it's everybody else's fault,
Yep.
why did they put me away? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that must mean that I got to look at something. You
Right.
know what I mean? And then, like, they told me that
Deep
in
moment right
A and
there.
O, and it just and I was like, and I leaned forward, like, I sat up in my chair and I pointed at the paper and I said, I don't care what that thing says. I ain't never coming back here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because, like, it right then
Well, you
woke
hadn't
me up.
really looked at yourself until that moment
Yeah,
on and it was on paper, and it was like, oh shit.
yeah.
Like,
Like, you're telling me
yeah, yeah.
that 95%
That's
prison
crazy.
is the only thing that my future can be? No,
That's crazy.
no. Ain't no way I'm gonna let that be true.
Well,
Nobody's gonna tell me that about myself.
I want to
You
hear
know what I mean?
what you went through in prison, but I gotta take a moment here to acknowledge Mr. Napa, who showed up late.
Oh,
Uh,
hello. Yeah, well,
and,
he had his own show.
and apparently, I just found out that he's got a campaign going on, but apparently you're his campaign manager, and
Oh, yeah.
he's a little
Yeah,
upset.
yeah.
He says, did he even mention my campaign? What kind of campaign manager is this guy? I'm going to have to consider making changes. And I have mentioned
Oh my
Matt's
god.
name. I've given you the opportunity. I've
No,
given
yeah,
you the
no, yeah.
opportunity
You know what?
to.
So, listen, I need.
I'm gonna have to
So
change
if
my
this is
graphics.
if
I'm
this
gonna have
is
to
an
change
oh
this.
yeah, there
You know,
listen,
to Matt for
if you would
president.
do me a favor and vote this guy for in the next presidential election 2024, Matt Napo is an amazing guy. Very wonderful.
That's your campaign. If you would do me a favor, if you would do me a favor,
Yeah, do me a solid.
that's the ad
Do me a
campaign.
solid. You know how politicking goes. You scratch my back, we'll scratch all of yours.
Totally. You know what? I think Matt's going to be a great candidate, and
If
if I
Matt's
can
elected president, I will come around and do a personal favor for every individual voter. We're not going to say what that personal favor is, but $20 is $20. You know what I'm saying? Like,
awesome. All right, so let's get speaking of that. Let's get back to your experience in prison. So, but that's obviously that's great. That is a significant moment in someone's life to turn around
yeah,
and say, all right, I've got to be responsible for everything that happens from here on in. I'm not, you were saying you were blaming the world, and that's I
yeah,
think a lot of people come from that. They because that's what's all around. That's what's coming out at you. You know what I mean? Like I was saying earlier, they're telling you got to be this, you got to be rich, you got to be thin, you got to be successful. And if you're not those things, you're like, what do you do? You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, totally. He says you could keep your job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's a good moment to turn around. So did you tell me how you used that experience in jail, like that decision that you weren't going to come
Oh,
back? Like, what was that all about?
so I'll say this, like, prison is a very different experience, and prison is what you make it, 100%. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to slide in and get in with the people, playing the games and gambling and doing all, like it's easy to do. The one thing that I'll say is that consistency is your best friend. You know what I mean? Because a lot of guys that were, taking some of the same classes that I was going to, doing some of the, church things that I was doing, like they didn't necessarily get the same kind of um respect or whatever, because they were very inconsistent with their behaviors. You know what I mean? So the thing that I noticed most about prison, especially when it comes to people that are not obeying the rules, you know what I mean? Like, being a goody goody in prison can be problematic. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people think that you're like a junior CO or something like that. That if you see something dirty go down, that you're gonna report them or whatever. So like it's a very fine line to walk between when you're an inmate that's following the rules.
To
You know
actually
what I
try to
mean?
reform, if you
Yeah,
actually want to reform, it's like an extra effort that you got to make, right?
right.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but
crazy.
when you're consistent in that effort and the other people in the cell blocks and shit see that, then they totally respect you and they're not really fucking with you. You know what I mean? They're not going to try and get you into the mix of some bullshit or whatever, because they know that's not your thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you're inconsistent with your effort and you're wishy-washy, then you can get mixed up in some stupid stuff. Because the biggest fear I had going into prison was that something was going to happen while I was in prison that was going to cost me more time. That was my biggest fear.
Right.
Was that if I lose my head in here and go off on somebody, I'm getting another 10, 20 years easy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's tough.
Because, huh?
That's tough. That's
Yeah,
got.
no, and like,
I can
you
only
got to be.
imagine. You know?
Yeah, and but I did like one, because I very much noticed that difference, because there were plenty of guys that were um talking the talk of reform and like making it look good for the administration. Those
Right.
guys, they don't get the same kind of respect in the cell hall. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna get robbed, they're gonna get fucked with, they're gonna get, you know what I mean, because they know that they're bullshit. But if you're real, that's the biggest thing in prison. If you don't want people to mess with you in prison, be real. Be exactly who you are.
Right.
Because
Right.
bullshit will get you hemmed up in a second.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think I hope I'm not getting it mixed up with somebody, but I think I heard you telling a story about being involved in the program. You were involved in programs that were obviously good for you to keep your time short and get out early or whatever, and specifically like the church or whatever. There was a story you were telling about singing a song. You got in a rivalry with
Oh
somebody.
goodness. Yeah.
Let's
Oh
hear
yeah,
that
man.
story.
Okay. So you want me to tell the story? Yeah, I can tell the story, dude.
I mean, I'm just trying to drag interesting stuff out of you. I thought that was an interesting story, you
Yeah,
know.
no, it's great. It's a great story. So I can't remember what year it was, but like it was the first year that I was on the praise team. When I was in the South Dakota State Penitentiary in Sioux Falls, and Cornerstone Prison Church is actually the first church in an institution that the outside synod recognized. Um, and I got on that praise team, and there was a lifer on the praise team. He played guitar and he sang, and I didn't know this, but like every year for like the last, like 15 years, whatever, for a long time, this guy had sang Mary Did You Know, right? And but then so like we were singing it as like a regular praise song. It wasn't like it was upcoming to Christmas. So we're like practicing it for just regular service. And uh I get chosen to sing it instead of this guy. And he's a lifer. And like he started wearing, and he told me that I better tell Diane that I don't want to do it, and that was his song to sing and everybody knows it, and blah, and like he started wearing his boots everywhere, like he even wore them up from the shower, which like is just like, come on, like. And and I really I really think that, you know when you're dealing with a lifer, you have to be very careful, because like that was like his thing. You know what I mean? And I didn't know that it was his thing. And sometimes you step in it, but it got worked out. I think he sang "Oh Holy Night" instead, in a terrible fashion too, if I remember correctly. I just want to state that.
That's pretty funny. Hey, Gabe DiStolano is what is out there. What's up, Gabe? A friend of mine in Arizona. Wow, we got a lot of people all around the country watching tonight. That's pretty cool. Thank you
That's
guys for
great.
coming. I appreciate everybody
Yes.
who's here, everybody who's given us this energy. So all right, now I already screwed up when I had Peter Bales on, and I didn't talk about my show. I guess I've been taking myself too seriously, but I didn't talk to Peter Bales about hooking up with Barbara Eden, and Matt got very, very upset. And he's like, you blew your opportunity. So there's a story about you. I don't want to blow the opportunity, but you apparently got in some sort of gunfight, and
Oh man.
some crazy shit happened. So let's hear the gunfight story before we start. Matt Napo says that you banged Barbara Eden too.
Um, Actually, I had a chance with Bonnie Pointer once, and I passed, and I actually kind of sort of regret it, if I'm honest.
What's that? Say that again. I'm sorry.
I had a shot with Bonnie Pointer at one point, and
Bonnie.
I passed on
Oh,
it, and I really kind of regret
you
it in
regret it.
retrospect.
Carolyn is watching. She
I
says, "Man,
probably I
that was a great
she
time."
really so she was actually, it was back in like 2003, and she was talking about me like opening as a comic act for the Pointer Sisters, because they were still like doing touring and stuff, and they're like, we have comics open for us all the time, and she was all up on my stuff, but she was also doing crack.
Oh, geez,
And yeah,
can
and so
turned
I'm
you off
not.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so and once she pulled that out, I quickly exited, because that kind of thing's just not my
yeah.
bag,
No,
baby.
I'm with you. I probably would have exited too. So, but I want to talk about this gunfight. Did this happen before jail, in jail, after jail?
Well,
What,
it certainly wasn't in jail. That would be
what's
very hard to accomplish,
what's the
though,
gunfight
although
story?
not impossible, I guess. Um, but so let's see here. I don't. Let's see what I can and cannot say. I got shot in the spring of 1999. I was 18 years old. It was the third shootout I had been in at that point.
Whoa.
Um, and I mean, the long and the short of it is that there had been some backstabbing between myself and a former partner.
Hmm.
And if I'm honest, I went there with full intentions of killing someone.
Wow.
And that is not the way things went.
Wow.
That is not
Holy
how it
moly.
went at all.
Holy moly. So
Um,
were you in some sort of gang? Like you said you were a bad dude, and
yeah,
obviously this isn't good stuff, but
right.
well, I mean, what, like
So
three shootouts? I mean, that's a pretty
yeah, no,
high batting
it
average.
especially for where I grew up at. When people, when people find out that sort of thing was happening in Middle America, like it freaks them out from time to time.
Yeah.
And so I've never been in a gang, although I've been heavily associated from time to time. The first time, and the way it all kind of started, like the way I started kind of going this direction is when I was like, I think I was 12. Um, One of my friends had pulled a gun on one of my classmates, and that classmate was pressing charges against him. And so my friend said, "Hey man, if you go and beat up dude and tell him to drop these charges, I'll pay you $20." And I'm 12, so like $20 is like amazing to me.
Wow.
And I definitely didn't care about beating somebody up because violence was very much a part of my life
Right.
already at that
Right.
point. And that is really like the first step that got me to where I started doing things that you just shouldn't do. You know what I mean? And
Right.
uh, the reason I think a lot of the reason I didn't get branded back in the day was because some of the things that I was associated with were things that they didn't want the brand associated with. I was independent for a reason,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Um, and I think about that stuff pretty much every day of my life,
Right.
and it's why I try to be a better person today.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm always gonna owe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like,
I mean, it's really significant, and I got to tell you, thanks for being so honest here. And I mean, I know it's really probably mostly for yourself, that you're being honest, and I'm sure it feels really good, and I love it. I think I didn't even realize a lot of the story that you're telling me, how deep it went, and what kind of guy you were and the trouble that you got into. But I think I said in a couple of the posts, like, there are no mistakes, and there's always a chance to change, and to be good. And again, even without knowing you, it was just this vibrational connection where I was like, this is a good guy. I want to talk to this guy. I want to find out what he's about. And even if it started in a dark place, it's in a light place right now, right? I mean, it seems like
yeah.
you're in a good place,
I mean, I'm in a much better place, and because I'm in a hopeful place. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I'm in a place where I appreciate how far I've come. You know what I mean? Because to me, and like I've lived another, another layer. I know we're almost out of time and everything, but
No,
another
no, but
layer to
we
cover
can keep going until
is
we.
I've dealt with suicidal ideation since I was 8 years old.
Mhm.
So I'm 41 and on my way to 42. Every day is a victory, bro. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Uh, because when I'm real honest about it, and when you think of the reasons that a lot of people end up committing suicide, boy, man, it'd be real easy. It'd be
Sure.
a real easy answer for me, and I think about it almost every day,
Mhm.
but I don't do it. I keep pushing forward. I keep believing that my life can be something so much more than I ever dreamed it could be. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Despite that there's been a lot of evidence to the contrary. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. No, well, that's what I'm saying. I think people could change. I mean, look, man, you're here. You're on a show called the Live Stream of Consciousness. You know what I mean? Talking about this stuff. It's people can change, and people do change, and I think that's the big thing that's going on right now in humanity. I mean, that's why I don't. I certainly could, I could do a show about politics and like all of these things that bring a lot of attention and up my numbers by talking about this, but that's not the energy that I want to put out into the world. I don't deny all of that stuff. I don't say, oh well, it doesn't affect me. It certainly does, and I got to pay attention to it to a certain degree, but I also cannot let it into to the degree where I live a happy life. You know what I mean? Because if I'm not happy, it's just that's what I'm going to contribute to the collective energy, is not being happy. And
Right.
I just don't want to do that. And that's what I see in you. You're not even interested in contributing that. You've been there, done that kind of deal,
Yeah.
and you know how it feels, especially looking back,
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, I think that's great, man. I think I love what you're doing. I love the energy that you have with Matt on his show.
Yeah.
Again, I don't really know you much, but we've just gotten to know each other, and now we're friends. So I'm glad to call you friend. We could certainly bring you back at some point. I'm excited. This show is actually starting to attract some people, and I've got whenever I go out, I now have a good body of work where I could say, "Hey, go check it out," and people want to
Right.
be on the show. So I'm actually booked up into next year. So I'm excited
Oh,
about
that's
that.
great.
Yeah, yeah. But so I guess we could start wrapping up. I mean, again, there's no drop dead time limit on this, but uh this isn't ending here, is it? Matt says this isn't ending here, is it? Yeah, no, we don't have to end. I
Where
mean,
no, not at all. I have plenty of time.
so I don't think I ever got it out of you. How long did you actually spend in jail?
So I did 9 years and nine
You
months.
did the
So
nine
that
years.
was my first opportunity at parole. And the way that South Dakota works is they have an IPD, which is Initial Program Directive. And what that means is that if you do everything that's in your IPD, you don't ever see the parole board when your date comes up. As long as you're compliant with everything in your IPD, you just get released. But you have to like have a parole plan and everything like that, the place to go and everything. But like you don't have to see the board. And like me in particular, I knew that especially because like when I committed my crime, like as I was leaving, I threatened the store owner and said that if she called the police, I'd come back and kill her. Which like I was just saying to like get her to not to try and give me some time, but I totally understand how that it doesn't feel that way to her. You know what I mean? like like
Yeah, dude, when you
impact
flip
of
the situation around, yeah, you're like, oh shit,
yeah, yeah.
I did that.
I will say one of the best, best classes I took in prison, and there was two levels to it. It was impact of crime on victims. Like that really opened my eyes to what it's like from the victim perspective, and like understanding that that was like probably the most violent thing that ever happened in her life and how
Mhm.
traumatic that had because like I remember like her voice when she spoke in court, which was like 8 months later, her voice was still like shaky as she
Sure,
recollected the stuff.
sure,
and
yeah, yeah.
and so like
It's powerful.
uh and I was just like, dude, why is this? Like it was confusing to me that she was so bothered by it because like I didn't even physically touch her. Like I
Right,
had flashed a knife and I had said some mean stuff.
right,
And like in the world that I had come from, that's fucking nothing.
right,
You
right,
know what I
right,
mean?
right, right.
Like
And it was you were
so
like it wasn't her money anyway, right? You're like thinking,
right.
well, right,
Like
yeah,
it's crazy how the criminal mind justifies that stuff.
it
You know
is,
what
it
I
is.
mean? But
It's
like that was just how wrong my perceptions were.
right.
And I had a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I think you're a great example of that duality that I was talking about when I was saying this morning to Matt. Was it this morning or yesterday? I said I subscribe to duality. There's evil, absolutely. There's evil, and I think that's what's so great about your story is not only like do you have to kind of just comprehend evil and make decisions about it, but you live through it.
Yeah.
You that vibration went through you. That vibration of evil went through you. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
a couple of people, I just want to say, Jilly saying thank you. A couple of people just really appreciate your being so honest here. And Carolyn says there's always a second chance. Gabriel says he's bummed he missed the first 45 minutes. So he could go back and check out the beginning of the story, Gabe. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, you definitely seem to have been through a lot of stuff. And I mean, we didn't really get deep into the beginning of the story and all of the like
Right.
abuse and the badness that you went through to kind of shape you into that person. But again, it seems like the part of the story that I love is when you looked at the mirror, which was that piece of paper that said you had a 95% chance of coming back. That was the mirror. You said, no, that's not what I want to be. And you made a
Yes.
choice at that point. You were like,
Yes.
shit, I could just, it would be probably have been easy for you, to just continue. And like you said, it would have been easy to like been gambling and hanging out with the bad people
Yeah.
and, but you
And I
decided.
mean, like, if I were to shut myself off to care for, like, empathy and care and compassion for other people, if I were to shut myself off for that, it'd be super easy to go back and be, you know what I mean?
Right,
But like I can't imagine that today. Like I don't, like I was so empty then, you know what I mean? Like I look back and I think about, because like what that judge said to me was fair. What their assessment said of me was fair. Like it was not unfair of them
right,
to say that to me.
right,
But I was just determined because of, like, listen, the reason that I blamed other people for all the problems in my life is because that's who I was always listening to, even up here. The
right,
only people's voices that I ever heard or ever mattered were all up here. Those are the voices that I responded to and lived my life around, is what was going on upstairs, what we tell ourselves. And I was very smart, but because there was a lot of people that told me I was stupid, I was an ineffective student. You know what I mean? And there's a ton of different examples of how I actually was this, and somebody told me I was that, and I believed that instead of
right,
what I knew to be true about myself.
right, right,
And
right,
so, as long as I held on to what other people believed about me, I had no power to change.
right.
You know,
And that's what
and
I was
when they told me that, and that was the thing.
yeah.
You are not going to tell me that's my future.
Right, right, right. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying about society in general, putting all these pressures on you that you got to be all of these things. It's kind of similar. You like the people that you're around, telling you what you can and can't do, what they think, putting their opinion, not listening to your own inner voice is really the problem. And then when you saw that, what the reflection of was what you had created in society as you're like, no, that's not what I want to be. You
No,
know.
I didn't know I didn't know how I had a single friend.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't like I looked at myself and I was like, how can anybody stand me? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
piece of work.
That's what Jill says. You took your power back. So Gabriel says, how long have you been able to stay out of prison this time? So, and Carolyn saying, what are you going to do now? So people are curious as to what you're doing now and where you're at now. And,
Okay.
I've already said, I feel like you're a loving guy. You're a happy guy. You're a positive guy, but,
Right.
I guess they want to know more. So what,
So well, that's cool.
how would
That's
you
good
answer?
that they
How are you
want
going
to
to
know
answer
more.
those? Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to answer the question of, so, and I want to be distinct when I say this. I was a one and done prison experience. I did not go to prison. I do have two felonies. I did a little bit of jail time in 2002 for a felony of distribution, and I had distribution of marijuana less than 2 ounces in 2001, and I did jail time for that in 2002. I think I did about like 3 months or so, and then I had like 2 years on paper. And then I went to prison in 2007. I got arrested March of 2007, and I got released December 14th of 2016, and I've been out ever since. I was released a year and a half early from my parole because in all of my time on parole, which wasn't a lot, it wasn't nearly what I was supposed to get. But I had never had one sanction during my parole time either.
Nice.
So
Nice. Gabriel says, nice. Good job. Gabriel's actually a drummer from a band I was in a long time ago called Spider Lord. That was probably my favorite band to be in. You'd probably dig it. I should send you some of it.
I dig lots of music. I dig
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of
No,
stuff.
I think you would dig it. It's a pretty cool thing. So, what are you going to do now? Carolyn was asking, what are you going to do now? So, we know you're pursuing comedy. What else are you doing?
Yeah. So I have a show December 16th at the Guild Theater in Albuquerque.
Sweet.
And then I'm really hoping to release Fall Away with He's in House Entertainment. It's a song that we're working on right now. I was talking to the producer yesterday. We were making some good headway on the beats and stuff. So I'm hoping that comes out before the end of the year. That'd be awesome.
Cool, cool, cool. Let me see if I can. I got so many things going on right now, William. I wanted to bring up your YouTube and stuff, but I know that there was something else I wanted to talk to you about, which kind of goes back to the spirituality and probably also has had an influence on the way you see things and the collective and your connection with energy and source and all of that stuff. Is your girlfriend? I heard you talking that your girlfriend is a Wiccan.
Well, it's my wife
Your wife.
actually,
Oh, sorry.
and if we want to get really technical, she's my lady
She's
because
your
I even bought the 2 square foot plots in Scotland for us to be Lord and Lady when we got married. We got married in the old Celtic way. We were hand fastened at sunset on Halloween last year. Um, and it was really cool. But yeah, so and I say that she dabbles because I think that that's a fair description of what she gets into because like she'll do a spell. She very rarely does a spell. um you know but a lot of that is situational, I think, because when we live in other people's houses and stuff like that, it's not really appropriate
right,
to have a spell casting circle in someone else's home,
right, right.
especially if that's not what they're into. That's not very respectful. So that's kind of, but we live in our own home now, and she still hasn't done it very much. But she's got like some trinkets around to keep like evil away and everything like that. And
Okay, okay.
I have a
So
cross on my back actually.
has that affected your oh, hold on, I just found it. Has that affected your relationship with Mother Nature and Earth and energy and that kind of thing? Because I know Wicca is based very heavily on the relationship with Mother
Yes.
Earth, and um, so how
I
has
mean,
that affected you?
I've always been really into nature, and years ago, I want to say back in like maybe 2001 maybe, um I was talking to an old friend of mine, a friend I'd had since I was a teenager, and he knew that I was really struggling with suicidal thoughts and stuff. And he said to me, he said, "You know what you need to do, man?" He said, "This is what I do." He said, "I look for something beautiful every day." He said, "I don't care what it is, if it's just a moment, a butterfly, a cloud that gets my attention. Every day, just look for something beautiful. And as long as you find something beautiful every day, you got another reason to wake up so you can see something beautiful tomorrow, you
There you
know?" And that was one of the best things that anyone has ever told me. And it's probably saved my life on a number of occasions, if I'm really honest. Because like I've made 3 serious attempts on my life. I've been hospitalized a number of times. But 3 of those times I would say I was 100% trying to end my life and I failed.
Wow.
And so having been to that point where you actually make the decision.
Yeah.
Um, man, I know what those thoughts look like. I know the darkest recesses. I've been there 100,000%, and it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
um, like it's It's
Yeah.
so important to find that thing that pushes you, that keeps you motivated to take just another fucking step. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Because
Yep.
like I've started over from the bottom countless times. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I've been homeless. I've lost everything. You know what I mean? But like you have to keep moving forward
Yeah.
because like other like I've lived the last few years of my life like doing what I can for other people because that's the only way I can heal anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, uh, because I found myself not to be enough. So, like, I need your help. You know what I mean?
Right.
And helping you helps me in a way I can never describe. You
I think
know?
that's the biggest thing about like and I hate the word healers, but people who are looking to help other people, when you help someone else, you do help yourself, you do heal yourself, and it's the same thing with what I was talking about where I was hating 95% of the people. When you look for love, when you are able to love other people and not judge them, you're able to not judge yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when you're able to not judge yourself, you're able to not judge others, and that whole vibrational reflection back and forth and back and forth. I mean, it's really important. And again, it's a choice. And if we can choose that, it'll work. And if you say, oh, well, why should I choose that? Because other people don't choose that,
Right.
then that's
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 on them, yo.
that's the problem.
Like,
That's part of it's part of a problem. But
yeah.
anyway, I do want to share this. I did find this. I haven't done this before where I shared the window and the audio. So hopefully we can hear this. I think it's going to pop on right away when I hit share. So I didn't want to do it without the right moment, but let's take a look at this.
This is written by Matt Napo,
Written by Matt Napo.
sung by this guy. Oh, you got the video.
Moment you have waited for is finally arrived. Surprising of your distance now, and sound of your ride down into the valley.
Sounds great.
I love it. It's really good.
To hear them tell you the way
This was like pretty much complete when like he sent me everything and just had me do the vocals.
Great.
Like so he
Yeah, I'm
did the
wondering.
arrangement
I
and
think
everything.
that might be him doing the harmonies there.
Yeah. Yeah, I listened to it again after you said something and I was like, I think so too, yeah. Yeah, I did. I did. This is done. I sang this on my phone.
That's amazing, man.
This was recorded with dollar store earbud mic.
That's fucking awesome. Matt is such a wizard. As a producer, I'll bring the volume down on this. Yeah,
I love this part of the video. That's my favorite part of the video.
Matt is so talented. I was telling him that today. Like this video is made of, I think, 100% stock footage. Like I don't think he's filmed.
I'm sure. Yeah, I think so.
You know what I mean? And that takes a lot of skill to put together a nice visual that holds together with just stock footage.
I will say that this guy never stood a chance in a gunfight because he has a cover on his holster. You know, like this guy would get shot down immediately.
That's hysterical. That's hysterical. So how did you and Matt start collaborating musically? You just started
for musically. So Matt, I had talked about on his podcast that I was interested in venturing into music because I had a lot of songs in my head that like I wanted to make real. And he was, so I think his general feeling was like, well, here, if he's trying to get into music, let's lay down a vocal and see what happens,
Yeah, man.
and it
Awesome.
turned out to be really cool, because like when he told me it was already making money, I was like, oh my god, that's crazy, because like I don't think any of my YouTube videos that I have for my comedy have made any money, and a couple of them have been up there a couple of years. You
Right,
know what I
right,
mean? So like for it to make money in the first 3 months, I don't care if it's $1 or something. You know what I mean? Like that's my dream to like, just be taken seriously in these avenues. You know?
totally. Totally. Yeah. No, it sounds really great. And I know the new project that you're doing is musical too. You're putting out different songs and doing different musical stuff. So I wish
Yeah.
you great luck with that. I just wanted to let this place still get another minute or so. But really good stuff, man. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Again, I appreciate your honesty and I don't think it's just with me. I think that you're doing it. I think you're being honest with yourself, and that's part of why you're feeling so happy and being so successful in what you're doing, and kind of moving forward in life in general. All right, let me get rid of this. Boom. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm glad I found that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And Julie says, awesome video. So yeah, what's next for you? Anything that you said you had a show coming up, right?
Yeah, December 16th, I'll be at the Guild Theater. It's actually a movie theater, but once a month they do a comedy show there. So I'm very excited this is my first show in a theater. So I'm really hoping that it's a nice big crowd. I think there's at least 4 to 6 comics on the show, and it's a late show. It's like I think it's like 10 o'clock. I'm gonna have to take a nap that day. Like,
cool. Is it going to be any on video, or no? We'll have to see it later after the fact or something.
I'll talk to Alex about it. He's the one that runs the show. If I can record my set, I'm definitely going to. Which I don't think there should be any problems with that. So I definitely want to record my set, especially for a theater show. I need to get some solid submission material,
right.
so that I can submit to some bigger stuff.
Cool.
Because
Awesome.
like the submission videos I have are from a couple of years ago. I'd like to be a little more updated.
Cool. Yeah, I was looking for some newer stuff. I figured we would talk about that another time. But awesome. Do you have? I'm going to wrap it up just because, like you said, it's after 10 o'clock. Everybody wants to go to sleep. Do you have? Gabriel Distolano. I'll put you in touch with him. He says he can get you bookings in Arizona. He's in Arizona.
Sweet.
That's
Heck
close
yeah.
by. Awesome. Yeah, I will
Message me.
I will put you in touch. Do you have any words of wisdom for my audience? Words of encouragement? Words of inspiration? Anything to say for yourself?
Well, okay. Sorry, I had to cough a little bit.
Yeah.
So I muted my mic. I got to cough again. Hang on.
Do it. I always, I don't know if people notice that, but I do that occasionally. I'll mute my mic and I'll just be like, because it's so jarring.
Yeah. Yeah, words of wisdom number 1: always mute your mic if you're going to cough.
There you go. The words of wisdom.
Like the people that have headphones on and stuff, they super appreciate it. You know what I mean? And I'm sure people listening at home appreciate it also. So the thing that I say a lot, which I think is technically credited to Wayne Gretzky, is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the things that I really have lived my life by. Like you don't know if you don't try. If you don't go for it, you're never gonna know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's pretty much.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
And actually, we talk about it here. This is a little token. You can't see it, but it says just show up, and that's really what it's all about. It's like I know what kind of energy I bring to the table, and whatever I do, it's like if I don't show up, nothing's gonna happen. But if I show up, something's going to happen, and it's the same philosophy. So so awesome. Thank you for being on the show. Let me put you backstage. Don't go away. I want to talk to you after I sign off, and I'll be back in a minute. And that was it. That was the first time I've had a former inmate on the live stream of consciousness. He was very gracious to tell us his story. I did not go all the way with the gun story. Matt's gonna give me shit because there was an ending to the gun story that I don't think we got to. But I don't know. So many things happened. It was a great conversation. Thank you, William Conway, for being here. Who do I got on next week? I think I totally forget who I've got on next week. I've got to check my own schedule. Hang on a second. I've got to open up Facebook and go to the live stream of consciousness Facebook page. You should all subscribe to that page, and also the YouTube channel. You want to subscribe to that. Looking at my calendar, I think actually I do have next week is Thanksgiving. So next week I am not doing a show. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody for next week. But after Thanksgiving, I have Jesse Howell coming on the show. I'm excited about that. Jesse Howell has a podcast called The Missing Link, and he talks to so many freaking people. So as a podcaster who is kind of doing something very similar to him, I'm very inspired by him. He has a lot of conspiracy theory kind of people on. He had Flat Earth Dave on. He talks to a lot of people who believe a lot of different stuff. So that's what I want to do. I want to talk to people like that, and I want to see what he believes and all of that stuff. So I'm going to wrap it up. Good night, everybody. I see you guys. I will put him in touch with you, Gabe. I see you guys saying goodbye and all wrapping it up with each other. It's been another successful show here at the live stream of consciousness. Thank you guys for bringing your energy and being here. I will see you next week. Peace.